Let's turn to multiple developments to watch in the war in Ukraine. Russia's president calling up 300,000 reservists to join this fight, also seeming to hint that he could use his nuclear arsenal to protect Russia.
Also, President Biden pushing back strongly today against what he calls a brutal, needless war.
Tia is in Studio 32, taking a closer look at all of this. Tia?
Sally and Anthony, President Biden also today said the world's blood should run cold over this invasion of Ukraine in a full-throated condemnation of Russia. But Vladimir Putin shows signs of expanding the conflict based on what you both just said there. Political science professor Stephen Caliendo of North Central College joins us now to discuss this further. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. We've been talking about this war for quite some time. What, if anything, could come out of today's speech by President Biden at the United Nations?
He had an important captive audience today, Tia. I think we have to remember that this speech really wasn't about getting the UN to act. Russia, remember, is a permanent member of the Security Council, so they have a veto. So it's not really about getting the UN as an organization to act, but rather the nations that have been supportive of the effort in the Ukraine to stay in a coalition, to remain steadfast. And it was a good opportunity right after President Putin made his comments earlier this morning.
Now, we did have some breaking news this afternoon. Almost 1,000 people arrested all across Russia in protest against the war. Do you think public opinion holds any weight over Putin at all?
Well, it doesn't, not directly. I mean, that, we think about in democracies, public opinion matters a lot more than they do in states that are not as democratic. But all leaders have to have followers. And so, if the uprisings get too powerful and he's not able to quash them, it could have an effect. And so, moving toward reservists, I think this is the biggest move since World War II of Russians being compelled to fight. These are folks, many of whom will have had some experience already. But nonetheless, it signals if this war is going to continue for a long period of time, certainly citizens in Russia are going to wonder whether or not there's going to be additional troops involved.
Talking about this war continuing for a long time, what should we think about Putin's new hints that he could actually use nuclear weapons here?
Well, that part's always the scary part, because, then the world has to figure out how to respond. And this is something, of course, since World War II that we've been wrestling with. I have to tell you that I think that this move to bring the additional troops is probably somewhat of a signal that President Putin is not ready to use nuclear weapons quite yet. This is something he could have done already if he really wanted to, maybe some more saber rattling. It's dangerous stuff, there's no question about it, but I think that the idea that he's going to put more ground troops on signals where he's planning to head in the coming months.
It's interesting because the war is nearing the 7-month mark. Do you think worldwide support is holding steady as the months wear on, and what effect could that actually have on this war moving forward?
Well, that's a great question. I think I differentiate between support and attention. I think the support is there. The support hasn't waned. If anything, it's strengthened. People are more and more behind Ukraine across the globe, concerned about what Putin is doing there. But the question really is that as these months wear on, is it news any longer? How much more are we going to be talking about it? Which, coming back to the first part of our conversation, Tia, is why President Biden wanted to say something today about it, too, while he had a chance to address the UN, continue to keep it in the minds, not just of Americans, but of people around the world.
Very good point, and I get the feeling we'll still be talking about, at least you and I, we've been talking about it for quite some time. Stephen Caliendo, professor of political science at North Central College, it's always a pleasure to have you here on First at 4. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you next time. Thanks.
All right, we'll see you soon.